Hello, welcome to this short video about another assignment. This one is called Lead Effective Workplace Relationships. It's one of the core units in the HR Certificate 4 and also can be in the Certificate 4 of Leadership and Management and other courses. So, if you've got this far, I guess you've got a bit of learning done and you want to know what you have to do to be assessed. So, I'll refer you to the assessment package. Looks like this, pretty similar to all the other ones that you've seen. And I'm turning to page 11 because page 10, that's where the actual assignment tasks begin. So that means there's sort of 9 pages of other useful information that I encourage you to read, but if you've read those a few times before, you probably will know what they say. Anyway, so that's more about appeals and responsibilities and things like that. This is just about the assignment tasks. So task 1 then are the written responses to the questions that are required under the unit of competency, under the knowledge evidence. So basically these questions reflect what's required for that you should know, the background knowledge that you have in order to complete the practical tasks that come up in assessment task 2. So let's have a quick look at the questions. Hopefully you've done the workshop. If you haven't, if you've reviewed the workshop notes, the workbook that you might have, any other links and resources that may help, then you should be pretty well equipped to answer these questions. So the first one, briefly describe behaviours and characteristics that contribute to achieving trust and confidence with team members, colleagues and managers. Ensure that you include interpersonal styles, communication methods, consultation, networking and cultural cultural and social diversity and sensitivity. Sorry, a bit of trouble with that one. Excuse me. So what things could we put in here? If you're looking at the workshop notes, there's a little model of building trust, the 3 C's it's called. You could have a look at that. That will give you the basis of trust in anybody. So that obviously the behaviours we need to see modelled in a workplace to develop trust. We want to look at maybe consensus. How do we get consensus? That sort of win-win type outcome that we're looking for. An awareness of personality traits. So we're going to do some of that in the notes and in the workshop activities. We look at a few different models of personality traits. This is the DISC model. There's one that's similar to Myers-Briggs that's also there, and I'm pretty sure there's another one called Thinker, Doer, Carer, Leader, which is another model of work roles that people take up. So understanding those a bit, there's a very short discussion, is all that's needed there. Effective networking, so how do you build networks to gain confidence of other people and then for them to gain confidence in you and share information that you can both benefit from. The different communication channels that you could use, the appropriateness of those channels, such as emails, we use them a lot, but are they always used to the best advantage? And also diversity and equity issues, what sort of behaviours we expect around that. That'd be around discrimination and things like that. Okay, that's question 1 out of the way. Hopefully you're pretty well equipped to answer that one. Question 2, discuss aspects of legislation and organisational policies that impact on workplace relationships. Include anti-discrimination, code of conduct and other relevant policies related to relationships, conflict and grievances. Okay, so there'll be a whole lot of different things in most workplaces you could use here, but the main, I guess, piece of legislation is the Anti-Discrimination Act. So that's not discriminating against people for all sorts of reasons, ethnicity, gender and all those sort of extra ones that you've probably heard about. The Code of Conduct is probably another good example in a workplace that tries to define how people should behave and how relationships should evolve in a workplace. What other things could we have? Maybe equity and diversity policies, maybe there could be a customer service charter that defines how people relate to each other. The Work Health and Safety Act obviously has a lot of consultation and communication requirements within that. And there's also, I guess, the Privacy Act, which limits what we can do with personal information and how we should hand that on or not hand it on, as the case may be. So they're just a few examples. Hopefully you can flesh out some others that make sense to you. Let's move on to question number 3. List at least 4 communication channels that may be used to communicate ideas and information to a range of stakeholders. So that's obviously more than just your work colleagues. So those stakeholders could be managers, customers, suppliers, or auditors, or anyone else that you may come in contact with that have an interest in or are affected by your business activity. So let's think of a few examples for that. Obvious channel of communication, the one we use a bit, is face-to-face, isn't it? That's pretty well straightforward, but it is a channel of communication. Doing what I'm doing now, making a video and sending it on, putting it on the internet. Emails, another one, phone, blogging on the internet, social media, so whether it's Facebook or Instagram or any of the others that you may use. A lot of businesses now are set up with those sort of things to start conversations and keep customers coming back to them. Newsletters, the old-fashioned written ones, or can be animated or whatever, put online. Even brochures and mail-outs, that's still a form of communication. The intranet, with all of the shared drive facilities that offers for people. So one that comes to mind is OneNote. Some people use that quite a bit. Others never heard of it, but don't worry about it if you haven't. It's just another facility you can use on a shared drive. So quite a few different channels there. So we need you to discuss that, but also think about what's the best channel to use for which sort of circumstances. Let's move on to question number 4. Outline at least 2 problem-solving techniques. In the workshop notes there'll be a section there on different ways of problem-solving. I just might draw a few to your attention. The 6-step method is the most commonly used, whether you count out the steps or not. That's the most commonly used way of solving problems. The 5 whys, have a look at that. Fishbone diagram, good brainstorming tool, or just straight out brainstorming is another way. De Bono's 5 thinking hats, not a lot of people use that, but it's certainly fun to think about how to solve problems using that method. There's some formal ones called nominal group technique and the Delphi process. And no matter, there's plenty of others you might find, but I'm only looking for a couple here, so just name them and briefly describe how they're used. Okay, number 5, briefly discuss these workplace conflict resolution options and provide an example when each would be appropriate. So the best place I can refer to you for these is in the workshop notes. You'll find a page there, or quite a few pages, about different conflict resolution techniques, and there's even an example there where some CEOs or senior managers have been surveyed and they sort of give examples of what's the best resolution style to use in particular situations. So I'd refer you to that. The 5 that are listed here, you obviously need to understand them. Competition, collaboration, compromise, avoidance and accommodation. So they're the 5 different sorts. Just think about the win-lose aspects of each of those. I think that's fairly important. So collaboration is the only one that sort of guarantees a win-win. The others all have a bit of risk involved in them as far as someone losing. So bear that in mind when you answer that question. Number 6, explain how poor work performance may be managed. Consider formal and informal processes. Okay, so this one, informal is just a chat usually. And I've just got to turn this page here because I'm a little cheat sheet, so you haven't got it, and I don't supply it, so this video is your only way to get that information. So an informal chat, finding out if something is hindering the person doing their job well, whether they don't know enough and need training, they need coaching, they need mentoring, or there's some personal issue that may be affecting their work routine, that sort of thing. Then we get into the formal ones, so performance review would be the most common one there. For serious breaches, it comes down to warnings and stuff like that, but we're not looking at that in this particular question. Coming up with a performance improvement plan that comes out of performance reviews, that's a fairly common way as well. And just that coaching and mentoring, other things that you can come up with there. So there's a few points you can consider. Put that together into a nice couple of paragraphs and you've got that one done too. Okay, number 7, question 7. Discuss how workplace relationships may be monitored, analysed and improved. Pretty vague question, isn't it really? Well, the first thing I'd think of would be just to observe. If you're a manager or, doesn't matter if you're a manager or not, I guess, but you can observe whether conflict or difficult workplace relationships are in your workplace. It's usually pretty evident from the lack of conversation or too much or raised voices, that sort of thing. So observation is obviously one way. But we can use employee surveys. A lot of businesses, especially large ones, do that. Try and monitor the morale and culture within a business. So that's another way of doing it. Think about even the bottom line stuff. If there's a fair bit of conflict at work, possibly people aren't doing their job so well, and that's affecting sales or service or customer relationships, that sort of stuff. Exit interviews, probably another one that comes to mind. So as people leave, they can actually tell us why they're leaving. They can tell us there's a complicated relationship or even some bullying taking place. Hopefully that'll give us a chance to rectify that. So all of these situations where we monitor, that gives us a chance to improve as well. And I should mention the FOCHEM model, the FOCHEM model that's mentioned in the workshop notes. Nowhere else, it's not in any textbook. If you want to bring that up, I'm happy for you to bring that up and to maybe mention that's how supervisors and all people should treat themselves at work. Okay, so that's task number 1, all the written questions. Task number 2 then is called a project. Basically, it's a set of activities and also little reports we ask you to do to prove your competence at the unit. So you've already shown after that first part that you know a bit about this stuff, or quite a lot hopefully, and this one will get you to practice some of those skills and show us how well you can use them. So the first one is about managing relationships with difficulties. So this one is quite a personal task, this first part. So I want you to identify 2 relationships with other people that are important to you to get your job done effectively. Or they may influence your professional development. So if you don't currently work, it might be a mentor or your job active provider or somebody like that. So firstly, rate the effectiveness of each relationship against the criteria on the following forms. I'll have a look at that in a sec. And then identify how you could improve your relationship with each of these people based on your rating of the criteria and the workshop material. Okay? So from what you've learnt, we need to see you implement some of that now. I'll just quickly show you the form, what it looks like. Obviously you probably can't read all that. So relationship 1, relationship 2. So, what do these say? The title or position of the person, don't need their name unless you have their permission. Just leave that as whatever their job role is. And then their relationship to your job or to you. So I need to see that to see how well they could influence your work. So the criteria hopefully are fairly straightforward. It's a sliding scale from unsatisfactory would be 1 and very good would be 7. So somewhere in the middle, I guess most people are, unless you're really in tune with the person you're talking about, which they might be very high marks all the way through. So the criteria listed here are openness, verbal communication, dealing with disagreements and grievances, timing and frequency of communication, trust, willingness to listen, and written communication. So they're the criteria that we've listed. There's a few explanatory notes with each of those little subheadings to help you understand what they mean. And then just give an honest rating of where you reckon you sit in that continuum with that particular person. So I need you to do that twice. So one person, it's probably preferable to have someone that you report to as one, and maybe someone who reports to you as another, or at least a colleague. Because that way we're looking at sort of relationships around you rather than just you and a mate. Okay, so let's go back to what we're asked to do. We do that rating, and then we want to look for how it can improve. So wherever there's a lower mark, you might want to say, what can I do in a little action plan? There's another little pro forma for that coming up. But they don't have to be big things. It might be you're going to say, I'm going to meet with this person once a week from now on. Or I'm going to try to practice assertive statements with this person whenever we have a disagreement. Whatever they are, just small things, but put it in a plan and then practice it. I'd like to see over the period of the assignments, over 4 or 5 weeks or whatever, that you can see whether there's been an improvement or not. Because we're trying to establish an effective workplace relationship, this is your opportunity to practice. Okay? So a little note here is be self-critical. So please not just blame the other person because they're a dickhead or they can't communicate properly or it's always about what they want. That may indicate their personality type, and hopefully you can see better after examining personality traits where they're coming from. So let's be self-critical about our own contribution to the relationships. Identify areas that you can action to influence the relationship rather than blaming the other person for shortcomings. Draw up an action plan and for how you will put these improvement strategies into practice over the course of the month allowed for the assignment. Comment on any change that occurred. You may use the attached action plan template for this. I didn't read that very well, did I? Sorry. Must be the small print. So that's a little action plan template. It's not very complicated. So we're looking at what's the improvement area for relationship one. It might be timing of communication. What are you going to do about it? I'm going to meet with them on a Friday afternoon every week. I'm going to do that over the next 4 weeks. And then the comments. It made a difference, it didn't. Relationship 2, same sort of thing. So I need a couple of things in there for each one. And it's a good idea if you have a bit of conflict with this person or either of them, that you practice that assertiveness stuff. So practice the I statements. This is a chance to record how well you're doing with that. So they don't have to be big things, remember. They might be just small things you're going to come up with there. But we need to see a bit of a plan and see how it went. All right, we're going back now again to number 2 in this task. Analyse and report on an interpersonal problem or conflict situation that you have observed in your workplace. So this is something that you've seen recently, or something that could be a while ago, but it's stuck in your head. And we want you to analyse that situation. So it may include you, and it's probably better if it does include you because you can reflect on how it all went and how it might have been done better if it happened again. But it may be a relationship that's not with you involved. It's just something that you've seen and you reckon you can analyse it. So draw up a chart, a conflict map. So once again, the workshop notes, it's not a very complicated thing. It looks at the needs and fears of all the people that are involved in or surround the problem you're talking about. So hopefully during the workshop or when you've looked at other material, you'll be able to draw that conflict map. It just helps in resolving the conflict. Or you can just use a table if you like, just list who's involved, what are the issues. But I need to look at what are the needs and fears of each person. So the needs and fears can be to do with their work. They need information in order to do this part of their job or whatever. And their fear is not getting it, well, they'll look bad, whatever. However, you can go further. You can sort of think, oh, this person is coming from this personality quadrant, and therefore they have these extra needs and fears that go with their personality. So I encourage you to think about that if you can make that judgment about what personality type are the people involved. But as a minimum, just needs and fears to do with their work. List any latent issues that may have contributed to the conflict. So latent, so what things happened? Have they have a history? Was someone bypassed for a promotion and that's been a nagging problem for a while? Was there conflict between this person and the other person's family in the past? Those sort of things are really important to list as well. Okay, where are we up to now? Part C, how do you believe the people involved, including yourself if applicable, could have handled the situation more effectively? Make reference to the collaborative problem solving, interpersonal and negotiation skills or effects of personality attributes as part of your analysis. So I need you to look at that as you do the analysis. Think about those extra things rather than just looking at the situation and say, well, they should have been adult about it or something like that. I need you to actually reflect on the notes. And unfortunately the lights have just gone off and I'm not sure if I can bring them back on again. But I'll just stand up for a second and see if that works. There it is. Pretty good. Nothing like saving electricity. Anyway, so the next part about communication processes. Detail the following processes within your organisation and recommend any improvements that could be made. Right. So remember, we're looking for recommendations for improvement. So analyse and make recommendations. First one is on consultation. Evaluate the consultation processes within your team, within your organisation and with other stakeholders. Describe an example where you have received feedback or other contributions from within or outside your organisation that have led to refining ideas or practices. So that second part is pretty important. We're looking for an example where you've actually been a leader in the communication, if you like, to bring about a change or an improvement. But going back to the first one there, when we talk about evaluation of consultation practices, we need to look at all the consultation channels that are used, whether it's to do with work health and safety or whatever within the workplace, and just see, are they effective? Could they be better? And give us a few ideas on how they could be better. The next one's about information management and conflict management. Evaluate the strategies to collect and analyse information in order to improve work performance. So do we monitor trends? Do we get charts of output, customer service surveys, all those sort of things? So once again, analyse those methods and see whether they can be improved. Describe an example where you have collected work-related information and led consultation to achieve improved work performance. So this could even be the same answer to the one under consultation. If it turns out to fit, then certainly just refer me back to that one. Don't worry about coming up with another one. But you may have lots of examples, so please feel free to stick another one in. And the third one there, ABC, so C, describe how issues or conflicts are resolved within your team, including referral to other staff when required. So there may be a grievance process that you follow at work. It might be more informal. Do you refer up the chain for grievance dispute if it can't be resolved between the parties? Is the mediation? Do you use an employee assistance program? So external counsellors who may help. That's what we're looking for there. So the next one, developing trust and confidence. So I'm asking you here to provide at least 3 examples of responses that you've had from team members, colleagues or manager that demonstrate you have succeeded in gaining their trust and confidence and achieve planned work outcomes. So hopefully that's not too daunting. We might want to look at the 3 C's again of maintaining trust, see whether you demonstrate those. I guess to show that someone trusts you, it's if they come and ask you for advice, if they trust you about your work, your competence, they'll ask you for how to do a job. You may be given a temporary promotion or acting in a higher role. That shows trust that you can do those things and confidence. It may be that you're given mediation responsibilities or as a contact officer or something within your organisation, which shows you can hold confidences and not critique other people, bad mouthing and that sort of thing. So it could be any of those. Or it might just be that you're seen to be trustworthy, you have integrity and people share information with you. So it could be that they share personal information. So not just because you're going to keep confidence, but because you can provide counselling, maybe in a informal way. So we're looking for 3 examples that would show that. Next one is about networking. So networking is part of this unit. It's a term that's bandied about a lot, but it basically is where 2 parties can gain advantage from each other by sharing information. So within the business, there's lots and lots of networking, obviously. So whether it's between the people who take the orders and the people who dispatch them, that sort of stuff. There's networking that has to take place for that to work well. There's a networking with suppliers. They're always trying to sell you stuff, and you want to work out the best price and product and whatever it is. So there's all sorts of networking. But I want you to come up with at least 3. So networking can be face-to-face contact. It can be joining conferences and forums online. It can be going to conferences regularly. It can be part of even community service groups such as Rotary or Lion or Zonta or whatever, where you get a chance to increase your personal development, and that obviously affects your professional development too. So we're looking for a few different network strategies there. But for each one, I want you to describe the advantages of that networking strategy and the possible disadvantages. So think about that. Discuss the benefits for you and your organisation of each strategy. So we're looking at that as well. So they might coincide with the advantages and the benefits, but sometimes they can be different. And identify any cultural, social or equity barriers that may be associated with each strategy for you and or others, and recommend ways to overcome these barriers. Okay, so if it's a male-dominated network and you're female, that's an obvious barrier. Think about how you can overcome that. Usually that's to do with assertiveness. Or if you're Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander, you might not have access to the same information that other people might have, or to the same level in the networks. So once again, how do we get around that? For people who have low literacy, how do they get around a network that requires lots of written information? For people who don't have a lot of money, that's probably me and you, but people who are time poor or actually poor, and there's a cost involved, can we get around those sort of things? So they're the sort of barriers that are most common to have a look at. And lastly, it's taken a long time to talk about this, so it must take a while to write it up, but I hope you enjoy it when you do. Is keep a journal. We'd like a journal kept for at least 4 weeks, so entries that show the date and the activity relating to this unit, and submit it with your assessment. So that sounds daunting, but it's really just a little diary entry, a one-pager. Make notes about any occasions when you have implemented any of the techniques related in this unit. Better understood workplace situations or issues because of your raised awareness, because you've studied this unit, or that you've observed good or bad examples of, and I've got to turn the page, other people's relationship management or communication. So there's a wide range of things there. The minimum requirement is to record at least 3, so only 3 over that 4 weeks or so. So they don't have to be about you. You could observe an argument that's occurred at work and you think, okay, I'm going to reflect on that and how people could have managed that better. Or it could be that you've now noticed someone is coming from a particular personality quadrant, and now you can better understand why they're saying what they do or why they act the way they do. It could be any of those things, but I've got a list here as well, where you have used an assertive response. Okay, I might encourage you to practice those when you need to. Where someone else did or didn't use assertiveness and the effect that had on the relationship or the conflict. Personality awareness that I was just talking about. Negotiation practices, because we cover that a little bit in the workshop notes. Workplace communication, consultation, anything. So anything related to this unit to do with communication, networking, whatever. Only 3 things that I'd like you to note in that journal. Okay, so that is it. As I say, it is a very personal one, this one, apart from where you're reviewing the organisational policies and things. But hopefully you'll find it rewarding, and you'll be assured that I keep the information confidential if you do tell me things that you're a bit sensitive about. Okay, thanks for that, and good luck.